for the fans watching at home, you're going, okay, we want to see close contests across the board, right? That's just naturally, we want to see it be an even comp and it being a tussle. And the Raiders-Bulldogs game was horrible.
80 points combined is a new record in this competition.
The Dragons should be throwing the kitchen sink at someone like Jessie Southwell.
It would be pretty irresponsible if they didn't.
Hello, welcome to Code Sports Show and Go. Pam Whaley is here for all our NRLW wash-up. Round 8 done and dusted, Pam. And you know what? Let's just wash, rinse and repeat on what happened last week. The Roosters and the Broncos are still our front runners. But we want to talk at the beginning of the show about what's going on at the other end of the ladder. I guess for most of the season we've been thinking Tigers, Raiders, Wooden Spooners potentially. Yeah. But the Dragons, they are somehow in the running to win the dreaded spoon.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Well, now they've lost 5 games in a row. They haven't won since round 3. They've had 2 wins so far this season. It's probably time we have a bit of a look at them and see, you know, what's going on there. As you said, we've played into the Raiders a little bit this year, and the Tigers obviously not having a great season either, but the Dragons are right down there. It's time to probably start asking some questions whether or not there's some changes to be made there.
Yeah. Are they better off than they were this time last year? Obviously, knowing that they sacked Jamie Soward. Yeah.
So exactly, Jamie Soward lost his job last year, and they finished with 2 wins for the season. So at where it stands right now, no, they're not better off.
And when you look at what they did last year when they were playing well, their fullback Tegan Berry was on fire, and particularly on the weekend. 5 errors. It wasn't a great game. I'm not saying it's all on Tegan Berry, but this was a player, probably their marquee player in the team, not having her best season.
Yeah, that's the thing with clubs like the Dragons. Obviously, when they've got a couple of marquee players, obviously they've got Racine McGregor there as well, and obviously Tegan, who has just been such a standout talent for the last couple of seasons, and then this year just hasn't kind of kicked on with the same energy that we expect from her, with the same intensity that we expect from her now, that we know what she's capable of. On the weekend, 5 errors. I think she made, it was 51 metres, which is just not anywhere near what you would expect for
you could get that from a kick return.
Yeah, and a highly paid player at the club. When you look at some of the talent that's around her, obviously there's a lot of young talent at the Dragons, but those experienced players, and I know she's only young, she's 22 or something, but she's been playing NRLW for a long time now at a pretty good standard, and she needs to be that player that delivers them wins, and just hasn't been that season for her. She spent 2 weeks on the sideline with a suspension. It's just probably not in a great season for Tegan for whatever reason.
The half, Racine McGregor, an experienced campaigner, she's off contract at the moment, so certainly potentially looks like she may not be there next year. That really for us naturally brings up the conversation, because it was our headline of the last 2 weeks that the big off contract halfback at the moment is Jessie Southwell. And it would completely make sense to everyone watching and seeing the game as it unfolds that the Dragons should be throwing the kitchen sink at someone like Jessie Southwell.
It would be pretty irresponsible if they didn't, right? Like that. If you're a fan of the Dragons, you want to know, is my club doing everything that they can to get wins, to see us be successful? And if there's a player like Jessie Southwell available and interested potentially in leaving Newcastle, you got to go for it. And if you've got your halfback there, obviously Racine is so experienced, but off contract, maybe they move in a different direction. Maybe this could be the answer for them. It would make sense. Obviously her sister Hannah is there at the Dragons as well, so that seems quite logical to me. It would be, as I said, irresponsible if they weren't doing that.
The sisterly connection, you're working on that if you're the Dragons, knowing that Hannah is there and decided to make a big break away from home to try and reinvigorate her career, and despite it being a tricky year for the Dragons, it certainly feels like Hannah's done that this season, personally watching her. So some big, it certainly sounds like the Dragons are going to have some big off-season changes. They've still got the remaining 3 rounds to go, but if you're Nathan Cross, you're saying, right, we need to overhaul potentially key positions and look at making some enormous changes to what did not work this year. I think we probably could clarify a little bit around the Jessie Southwell future, around the fact that, yes, she has actually 2 years to go at the Newcastle Knights, but they are in her favour. So she can trigger that, or she can choose to look elsewhere. And that is why there are definitely clubs on the blower to her manager just asking the question.
Doing their due diligence, doing what we would expect any club to be doing, as they should be. They should be hunting her down. And so Newcastle should be fighting tooth and nail to keep her. We've seen these headlines over this last week or so, just how important she is to Newcastle, how much it is. People just don't want her to leave. She's a homegrown talent. She is their, homegrown halfback. She is Newcastle. They should want her to stay. They should be doing everything they can to keep her.
And there's a part of this where you get a sense, and I believe this to be true, that Jessie herself isn't enjoying the circus that has unfolded, and would really like to just focus on her footy for Newcastle, because they're in a position here to make finals, to have a great back end to the season. So for players, you get it. She's not enjoying this. She's not enjoying the fact that there's plenty of fans that are unhappy that the Broncos, or that she could leave Newcastle. And there's also some pretty big media personalities like the immortal Joey Johns having his say. So you can understand Jessie's just thinking, okay, I just prefer it to all go away so I can focus on footy.
But to counter that, this is just the reality of the NRLW now. This is what we want out of the game now. I understand Jessie probably not selfishly, but personally does not want this, but this is what we expect as fans. We want to know. We want to talk about the future of our players. This is what happens when you are building a competition and you get fans invested in the players, in the teams. If you want fans to come out to your games, if you want them to buy memberships, if you want them to buy jerseys and support your games and come out and watch and cheer for you, this is what you can expect. This is probably an uncomfortable area for NRLW players at the moment, because they're towing that line, right? They're expected to be fully professional and act fully professional, but they're not fully professional.
Well, up until now, we haven't had people weighing in on what they're... When they make a decision, they make a decision, and it's usually applauded. It's usually just made with the headline. And in the past, a lot of fans have come out and said, why don't we harass the Roosters for all the star signings? We'll make a promise now. Every time the Roosters...
We're going to harass everyone.
Every time the Roosters re-sign a big name star, it'll come up here. And that's because we have this platform now, and we are talking about the women's game more, and therefore it is getting more and more coverage. And what comes with becoming elite and becoming a professional competition is more scrutiny, more discussion. And you know what? It might take a bit of getting used to.
It's just going to have to take. They're just going to have to get used to it, because this is just what it is. This is what we do. We pick apart every single thing that happens in the NRL, right? And I know that the NRLW is a different game.
But it might be a thing now where we see it affect the way players play, right? I'm not saying it did on the weekend for Jessie, but the Broncos absolutely wiped the floor with them at the end of that game. And maybe, and we often talk about this in NRL, right? When contracts and Daly Cherry Evans, and has it affected his form this year, having all of this stuff going on in the background. People are human, and it can happen. So
of course.
Maybe that's another level that's happening, that will happen in the women's game. But let's talk about that game and Jessie playing against the Broncos in the week that was, and also in the week that saw Ali Brigginshaw make her future known, which is that she will play on for just one more season in the NRLW.
Yeah. So that opens up that door, doesn't it, then for the future of the Broncos. We obviously know that Gale is leaving from next year. But it just opens up kind of a little conversation for the Broncos where they're heading to in their future and why they would be looking at someone like Jessie to take them to, into the future.
And it's a big call, I guess, for Ali to make on an incredible career, and having spoken to her in the days last week leading up to that announcement, she made it very clear she'd love to see someone like Jessie Southwell come to the Broncos and even in her final year have a part to play in bringing her through, which I imagine would be a big carrot for Jessie as well, to sort of have that time with Ali in her last year, work together and then carry it forward. But
they've been doing it on that rep stage for a little bit now. Jessie has obviously been around Jillaroos camp for a while. But yeah, Ali cops a lot for having the audacity to keep playing when a club wants her to pay her to play. I mean, good on her. And she's still obviously contributing so much to the Broncos and to Women's Rugby League. So yeah, good on her if she wants to play on another season. I think that's great.
Win a couple more premierships.
Why not?
At the stacked.
It's obviously
Brisbane
not
Broncos.
slowing them down whatsoever.
Yeah,
so,
no.
Yeah,
that's the point, right? Now, talking about slowing them down, the two standout teams in the competition, no slowing them at all, the Roosters and the Broncos. But we also had a couple of other blowout scorelines on the weekend. And I guess for the fans watching at home, you're going, okay, we want to see close contests across the board, right? That's just naturally, we want to see it be an even comp and it being a tussle. And the Raiders-Bulldogs game was horrible. Like it really was. In the way you look at, we want the girls to be champion. We want to say we're proud of the product. The defence was not up to standard, not up to scratch. So it then begs the question of we don't need to go any further in the length of the season right now. Certainly not with the squad sizes that we have, because are players getting gassed? Are they now 8 weeks in? Like that is starting to catch up with them in some of these blowout score lines.
Well, this week, so we're going into round 9, obviously, this is where the competition kind of ended in previous years. So this is where we've got another 2 weeks obviously added onto it. And we're just starting to see the effects of that. There's no buys in the women's game, and we're talking about squad sizes. We're talking about all of these different things, which we know the NRL is looking at for next year, increasing squad sizes and loosening some rules around transfers or potentially, a transfer window, or looking at ways that clubs can more easily bring players from their kind of system into the NRLW. At the moment, obviously, we know there's a top 24 for development players, but a lot of clubs, the Tigers in particular, I think we were saying before, 9 players who are unavailable, which is just enormous. So they've still got a couple of 3 games to get through with whatever they can kind of players they can field. But yeah, it is something that the NRL is looking at for next year and want to change. Because
this really came to light when we spoke about the potential of someone like Maddie Sutton going to the Warriors. That didn't eventuate. But there were, I guess, also rules around that as to why. And a lot of coaches then were happy to go on the record with you and say this really doesn't work. Yeah. And because it doesn't. So you look at the NRL, and I know obviously we say it all the time, they're different competitions, but the NRL has the June 30 cutoff for transfers, where if you have a couple of injuries, or if, at the start of the season, your team isn't panning out, your fullback isn't panning out the way that you planned, or you have the opportunity to get a player early that you're expecting for next year, those transfers can happen. Obviously, if both clubs agree to it and the NRL has to tick it off and it's got to be salary cap and, all of that, that situation does not apply to the NRLW. The squad that you have from round 1 is a squad you're supposed to run with. So that is what is looking at changing for next year, is potentially opening up the start of the season for a little bit of a transfer if you need to get more players or whatever it might be, just to kind of boost that, give them a little bit more of a chance. So 3 rounds to play of the regular season. The top 6 and the race to it is well and truly on in round 9.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got, I think from 1st to 9th, there's only a few points kind of separating those clubs. And then this weekend, things are going to start to work themselves out a little bit more. So the Sharks play the Knights, which will be a massive game in terms of kind of top 6 calculations. It'll be a huge game for both teams. Obviously, the Sharks had a pretty good win over the weekend. We'll want to be extending that. The Knights have had back-to-back losses, so they will be desperate to get a win as well. The other big one is the Cowboys and the Roosters. So far, the Cowboys have the best defence in the competition. think they've leaked, it's only like 82 points or something like that so far. But they haven't yet played the Roosters or the Broncos, which both of those teams have scored so many points so far this season. So this will be the biggest test so far for the Cowboys. That should be an absolutely cracking game because they are just absolutely cruising at the moment, the Cowboys. They look great. As you said last week, the most exciting team to watch.
Definitely. And it just, in terms of the top six, it certainly feels like the Knights, Sharks and Cowboys, they're the teams that are consistently have shown good form. Obviously, the Broncos getting over the Knights and the Roosters beating the Knights, not a shock to anyone, but those three teams seem quite confident about what footy they can put out the field this season. That sixth spot, Titans are in there at the moment, but Warriors and Eels are only 1 point behind. So yes, the makeup of the top six is anything but certain, but that Sharks game against Newcastle is enormous, and it was great to see Jada Taylor make her return, her long-awaited return, and I'm sure the coach is super pleased to have her back because she's been harassing him to get back on the field.
Just so that she can get off his case a little bit. But great to see her back. She's overcome so many injury concerns, hasn't she? So just to see her back out on the field, and touch wood, we get to see her out there for a long time.
All right, well, that's us for Show and Go after round 8, Pam. Please get in touch with us if you have any ideas on perhaps where the Dragons have gone wrong this year and what they can do to rebuild things for next season. And of course, we imagine that this Jesse Southwell story will continue to bubble along. Pam, thanks so much.
Thanks, Laura.